Right. I thought I'd do a little piece on using Lightroom, in particular for repetitive tasks. In this particular case, the lighting adjustments, etc., in other words, all the basic panel stuff, are going to be the same, and I need to process a bunch of these from this point on are all going to be pretty much the same. The exposure at shooting time is pretty much identical to every one of them. Um, there might be minor differences, but not enough to worry about. Um, so what I did was, fourth one along, I decided this is going to be repetitive. So I took this particular one, edited it. The exposure's more or less what I want. Could probably bump the exposure up a little bit. In this case, I've already created the preset. So I will just update those settings. Update. That screen is also the same when it comes up. You know, I've got what I want. We go up here, hit the plus button, create preset, brings the screen, name it. Now I've already created it, so I'm not going to recreate it. Now, when I move to the next one, the only thing it doesn't include, if you look at it, if we do the create thing, you notice crop isn't in here anywhere. You can do masking, but I'm not doing any specific masking for these. I had thought about the possibility, but I might tweak that. It would be nice if you could do one with cropping, but never mind. I don't really want to do the masking selection stuff just because of the fact that with these weights and things, it may have trouble always reliably grabbing it. So we may end up with the face and the arms and part of the shirt adjusted a little bit, but not the rest. And I'd have to keep changing that selection. So because it's not necessary, and if I come across any that are, I can always do it manually, I won't. So I've got my preset created. I go to the next shot, and before cropping, I go to my disc powerlifting curls, click it, hey presto. Gets a bit confusing when you accidentally roll over the other ones, but anyway, now I can then come in and choose my cropping. This is why it would be nice to be able to set a cropping preset, because my cropping is reasonably, I'm probably going to do most of these as a square crop. I'm not too worried about the sky in the background and all the busy background. That's not relevant. Cutting off half a head in the background is not a big deal. If I really wanted to, I could go in here to lens blur, let it do its thing. Takes a little while. Visualize it. could bump up the blur a little bit. And I might go back through some of these and do that because it seems to be doing all right. It seems to have blurred her thumb. So we'll just go in here and recover that. That's not too bad. Before, after. Yeah, I might go back through and do that. I don't particularly want to include that into the preset for the reason, just with that thumb, it may not pick my subject 100% accurately. We go back to this one here. Got used to sort of guessing where these AI things might have issue with. In this particular case, it's done pretty good. It's missed out the bit of the weight up here. It's gone quite broad. Turn the visualization off a sec. So I can see what I'm doing better. Yeah, it's not too bad, but I think I will definitely not include it in the preset. Run my preset because I wanted this preset mostly for the lighting, because that's the thing that's massively repetitive. Do a bit of cropping. Go to the next one. Most of these ones, the lighting is correct. I just want to make sure the lighting is basically the same for them. I wanted to crop these in relatively tight. Where it's going to become very important, there's a couple, see, that brightened it up. This is where the power of presets can come in very handy, because effectively I'm assigning it a repetitive task. I could also, as an option, just go and select all of these and hit select all of this lot and hit sync, and then just in the sync window choose, like it already is, not to include the crop. I wouldn't recommend using previous, although that is a fast way to do it. In the case of those ones there, it probably could have got away with it because the crop is the same. These four here had the same crop. But see, this is where the power of this preset comes in. I can hit that, hey presto, go to here, straighten that up, hit X to change the Ooh, nope. That's not going to work. I might have to go for a square crop and be a little bit wide. Come down a bit. Yep, that works. Go to here, get my preset, do my crop. One fast way, if your crop's close enough, you can often just do the sync option and include your crop in the sync synchronization, just purely because of the fact that then it's just a case of tidying up your crop. And I have done that before when I've done a lot of photographs that are essentially going to be cropped near enough to the same. I will include the crop in it, just because it just makes it that little bit faster. But even having that preset to set all my lighting is far better than having to do that manually, because it means then all these are basically the same lighting, and if I've got one that does need to be different, I can always change it. So that's pretty much that. Using a preset. This preset will exist for as long as it takes me to edit all these, keeping in mind not all of these are going to be edited, just a selection of them. Once I've finished editing, I will delete that preset, because the likelihood of using that exact preset again is so incredibly slim. The handy thing with it though is the fact that, just say I was going to apply it to this one here, boom, hit it, I can increase or decrease it, which in the past, because pretty much the settings I've got here are effectively a ratio. In other words, texture, shadows, exposure. The only one I probably don't want to increase is texture, but that's beside the point. But I can bump up how much of this preset is used, or bump down, depending. Whereas having to change just one of these sliders, in the case of the texture, I may not want the texture to go up, so I can always reset the texture back to where it was. I know it's at 21, now at 23. In this particular case, a couple of points like that doesn't really matter. I'm more interested in the lighting. I could have created a preset just for the lighting, in other words, in this case, exposure and shadows, and a separate one for texture underneath. And since the texture is going to be the same in each one, I could just run the lighting one, adjusted the amount for the lighting, then gone down, run the texture one over the top of it. It would have changed just the texture, and we're done. So yeah, that's how you can use presets to speed up your work, and then just, you might want to keep it, but you end up with a massive collection of presets eventually after a while. So these are the sorts of, this is why I use this favorites thing, because some of these I keep permanently but don't use that often. Others, like this one, I just create, use it, then delete it and move on.